Hey everyone, welcome to Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast. This podcast is all about farmers markets. Whether you're a farmers market manager or a small farmer or food maker selling at farmers markets, you have found just the right podcast.
I'm Kat Fields-White.
And I'm Bridget Myers. We're longtime farmers market managers, educators, and consultants. Get ready to catch up on all things farmers market pros with us. And today we're chatting about the burnout that comes with a long season, short staffing, and dramatic weather. Yes, it's 108-degree burnout.
That's a hot burnout.
That's too much.
Today's episode of Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast, is supported by Social Pilot, helping small farmers, food makers, and market managers keep up with social media posting. Regular posts that feed the algorithm help you reach shoppers more effectively, and scheduling in advance means better control of your schedule. We use Social Pilot as a cost-effective way to schedule Instagram and Facebook posts for our own markets, and it takes a load off of our day-to-day marketing duties. Check out Social Pilot on the website at farmersmarketpros.com.
Welcome back to Tent Talk, everybody. Today we are chatting about some great tips we've heard about how to conserve energy and set boundaries when you're feeling like it's all too much. We've been hearing a lot of comments from farmers market managers and participants about just how tired they're feeling at their rain or shine or fireball markets.
Those fireballs.
Oh,
it's
my
so
gosh.
hot.
And managing farmers market businesses is not for the weak. All right, we're preaching to the choir. Let's talk about how to make it easier.
That's right. I mean, why do things seem so stressful right now? Why do we keep hearing that? We're talking to farmers markets from all over the country, talking to farmers, talking to food makers, reading sad stories on social media.
Yeah.
Why do you think it feels so bad right now?
I feel like it's just the end of a long season or like not quite in the home stretch of a year-round schedule. I mean, it's September, so it's like, okay, we made it through maybe some of our busiest seasons, which is summer, but we're still busy. And then we're leading into the next season, a holiday season, which is busy. So we're not like done with anything, but we're just exhausted. It's been a lot. It's been exhausting. So.
I think the dramatic weather this year, too.
For sure.
I mean, it seems like every week it's something. Trying to manage schedules for your market or for your staff or for which markets you're doing when you're getting predictions of 100-degree, 108-degree, 118-degree heat. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you got folks 2 states up from you that are getting flooded by intense rain, mudslides. I mean, it's kind of scary out there.
Yeah, it's been a little like War of the Worlds happening right now. And also, another thing that happens with that is that sometimes things are forecasted and it's like just this clickbait kind of forecast. And then, you have to make a call. The market managers are making a call. Like, are we battening down the hatches? Are we canceling everything? Or are we going to say, oh, this could pass through during the night and it's not really going to happen during the market the next day? So making those calls, I think it's just like decision fatigue. Like that's how I'm feeling as a market manager is like, oh, I just have to make all these choices that affect so many other people.
Exactly. I mean, that's such a weight. I mean, you talk about canceling a market and those farmers that have been working all year to harvest, and this is the week that stuff's ripe.
Yeah.
It's not like you can cancel this market and, oh, it's fine. It'll be the same next week. No, it won't. Those peaches will be too mushy at that point. So, it's so much responsibility, and that's exhausting.
It's exhausting. It's a lot of responsibility, and you're thinking about folks that, can't afford to miss the market. But also, if you're going to cancel it, like giving everyone a heads up with enough notice so that they're not prepping and they're not baking. So it's just teetering on that timeline, and it just feels like a lot of pressure. It is part of the job, and that's just part of the job that we all do. But lately, just with more extreme weather happening, it feels like
more extreme weather and the whole crazy 24-hour news cycle thing where even weather forecasters feel the need to generate clickbait. Mm-hmm. And so they're turning every little drizzle into the storm of the century.
Oh, my gosh.
And you don't know what to believe. It's the boy that cried wolf thing. Sometimes I feel like I'm not going to cancel a market. This is ridiculous. They've been predicting this huge storm. It's never happened. But it's a whole boy that cried wolf. What if I hold the market because I don't trust their forecasts, and then we do all get blown away into the land of Oz?
Well, I feel like that happened in March. Like this past winter season in San Diego was so rainy and windy. We had bad winds, but a lot of days they predicted really bad weather, and it would like drizzle in the morning for an hour, and then it would be a beautiful day, and the market would be busy. So making those calls, but then, one market we're like, okay, like, no, I don't really believe it. Like the wind wasn't that bad yesterday. I don't think it's going to be that windy. Set up the market. And then things were blowing away a little, not really away because we have tent weights, but blowing, and it wasn't safe, and we had to close the market. So it's just, you never know. And I feel like the news cycle is just trying to get people to click and share. And so they aren't, I mean, I guess that's their job, but it's like makes it difficult for us because, I
feel like their job now is like, be afraid, be very afraid.
Gone into a different podcast. But
right, yeah, different podcast entirely.
Yes. But, it's kind of balancing that. And then how are your vendors feeling? Because then you get half your vendors are like, don't you dare cancel the market. Like, I need to sell this stuff. I'll be there, wind, rain, sleet, snow, whatever. And then some vendors are like, I can't believe you would ask us to come. It's going to be windy. So it's like I have to respect both of those groups because, vendors are our clients. And, it's just very complicated situation.
Very complicated.
So, I mean, just with all the heat that's been happening this summer and flooding. And when you start thinking about flooding happening in other parts of your area, even if it's not pouring at your market, can your farmers even drive off their farm? Are they going to want to leave their farm for the day if there's a risk of flooding because their animals and their families are on the farm? So are they nervous about leaving the property to go to the market? So it's a very complicated.
That part's really tricky because there's so many different microclimates, at least around us. And I'm noticing that, I'm on both coasts, and I'm noticing in both of them, it's really funny how you can have a certain kind of weather here, but 20 miles away, which may be where a lot of your farmers are coming from, completely different things happening.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the weather does just suck. And there you are at the market, and it is not that much fun to be. Usually it's such a nice thing to work outside and be talking to people. But when you're working outside and it's 108 and you're just, you're
very
drenched
unpleasant.
And it's hot and everybody's just teetering on the edge of dehydration and kind of cranky.
Yeah, and their product is not doing well. I mean, it's just...
Well, then there's those kind of tragedies that have been happening. We know a farmer a few hours up the coast from us that just had a situation. They're fully pastured chickens. They moved the chickens around. They moved the chickens to a new area. They were actually away at a market, and the farmhand didn't realize, maybe it's a new guy, something. He didn't move the water source into the new pasture, and they came home and they had lost, I think almost 100 chickens had passed. And it's so, so sad thinking about those poor birds. And it sounds mean to think of it this way, but it's also like a huge financial hit for those farmers that have spent all these months raising those birds, and now they can't gather eggs, they can't sell meat birds. So it's so we know that we have a lot of and same thing with crops. We're seeing farmers that had beautiful crops coming in, and all of a sudden there's a flood. Or there's extreme heat and they lose a lot of their crops. And it's really getting hard for them to balance all that out financially in addition to the discomfort.
Yeah, really, really crazy. I mean, here in San Diego, just a few weeks ago, we had a hurricane that blew through Southern California, kind of. It was like batten down the hatches, everybody, like get your bunkers ready. And we don't have bunkers in San Diego. So everyone...
Because we don't have hurricanes.
We just okay, side note, San Diego lost their shiitake. Like, we didn't know what to do because we nothing's bolted down around here.
Yeah.
We're very loosey-goosey. Like, we're very free. Like, we get a slight breeze once in a while, but it's like our stuff's just hanging out. So my husband and I at our house were like, what do we do? Like, we folded up our patio umbrella and I took my my plants that are in pots, took them off the little wall that they sit on. I'm like, is that good? Like, are we good? So everyone,
it's not like in New Orleans where you have window board coverings at the ready.
Yes.
At all times. I
mean, people were like, I guess we need a sandbag. I mean, we get some heavy rain, but it was the wind was the big situation. So everyone was losing it. The news was coming out kind of during the late week. And then we had our market on Saturday.
And that was pretty calm.
It was calm. It wasn't predicted to be hurricaney that day, but it was coming. And it was a very weird vibe in the air. But all the vendors came that day. And then as the weather prediction kind of progressed during the day, everyone was saying, oh, it's really going to hit on Sunday. And so all the Sunday markets just started announcing that they were going to be closed for the day, which is very weird. San Diego markets do not close. So they were announcing, hey, we're going to be closed. It says we're going to have a massive hurricane. And so then we're at the Saturday market, and our market got so busy. People were, it was supposed to be a hurricane for 24 hours, first of all. People were it was like COVID time, just storming.
Stripping the shelves. If only we sold toilet paper.
Yeah, we could have, I should have just sold some out of the back of my truck. But yeah, people were coming and farmers and vendors were I sold out of everything. People were acting like they would not be able to eat for a week. Everything would be shut down. And I understand, we don't know what to do in that situation. But I thought it was mostly silly. Very good day for the farmers and vendors at our Saturday market. But then it was awful. They were also like really upset and sad that they wouldn't be able to sell at the Sunday market. Like a lot of our farmers and vendors were like, oh my gosh, my Sunday market, like that's
40% of their week, right? Or 50% sometimes.
If they only do a weekend, it's like that's half of their income for the week. I mean, so it was kind of a weird day. It was a vibey day. So
and then sadly, Sunday morning was just sort of drizzly. So that was
it was a rainy day, but it didn't. Yeah. The wind blew a little bit at like 4 p.m. on Sunday, anyways.
And that's our sad story from San Diego, where we don't actually even have much in the way of disastrous weather. Mm-hmm. Many areas of the country are dealing with much, much worse weather for prolonged periods of time. So we understand why people are burnt out. Staffing gets tricky then. I feel like holding on to your market staff.
Yeah.
Kind of for our market team, but especially for farmers and vendors. I mean, I feel like they kind of burn through staff when this kind of thing's going on because it's not fun to have that kind of a job where you're outside unloading things from a truck, setting up the tent, loading things back up in terrible weather. Mm-hmm. So they're having problems with staffing turnover, which means we have problems with vendor turnover. Yeah. Because everybody's dealing with all that. And then on top of everything else, I feel like the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've had
Don't say it.
I'm sorry. I have to say it. We've had people calling out with COVID.
I know it's coming back.
It's
around.
kind of back, like a new version or something.
Yeah, I don't know why.
And everybody was saying, well, it's coming back, but people aren't getting that sick. Vaccines and stuff are helping, but we've talked to some people that are pretty sick.
Yeah, pretty sick, and it's I don't want to even think
about
it.
We don't even go there.
Still, that's fresh.
That's going to pass right through.
That's fresh PTSD. Okay, we don't need that.
Don't want to go through that.
But, I mean, that is something to consider. So then you have to think as market managers and as vendors and farmers, like, okay, well, if I have a staffer that gets COVID, it's like they need to not be at the market, obviously. Right. So who's going to fill in, like scheduling backup? What if you get sick? Like all these things, these kind of factors, again, decision fatigue and...
So I feel like it was a little bit too easy and we got a little bit too detailed in terms of why burnout exists.
This is doom and gloom talk now.
Yeah, as soon as we started talking, it's like all of a sudden we realize so clearly why people are feeling burned out.
This is just our therapy session where we talk about what's burning us out.
That's right.
But we have
good news now.
Helpful hints, yeah.
That's right. Good news coming up. So we've been hearing about this from a lot of folks in a lot of different kind of platforms, but there was a pretty good conversation that got started in our private Facebook group. Mm-hmm. If you're in there, you may have seen it. And so we're going to actually kind of paraphrase some of the folks that commented in there because there were a lot of really good ideas. And, we can share some of what we do as well. But there's a lot of good ideas about setting boundaries, not letting yourself get burned out by taking care of yourself. Mm-hmm. I mean, self-care is a thing.
For sure. I mean, I think thinking it's easy when you're super stressed or if you're exhausted from especially like a long season of exhaustion. It's just, and some of your staff is like going back to school. So you're scrambling for hiring. It's like when I'm stressed, I can't make like a long-term plan. Like when I'm stressed, I can only plan out like a week at a time. And so that just it's not going to serve us really. So we have to take the time to step back and say, okay, what do I need to take care of myself? I need to do that first because I'm not functional. Nothing on my to-do list is going to get done anyways. So I need to be functional, self-care. And then also, what are some things I can do that are going to take a little time to do now, but are going to serve me to take things off my plate and work in the long run and set up some systems for yourself? Because you might think like, I made it through an exhausting time. Well, let's not count on like that stuff ending right now. There's always like something new to like, either some exciting new project that's going to take up a lot of your time, like if you have holiday events coming up and those kind of things. So setting yourself up for a little bit more space in your day and by using tools that can help you set those kind of boundaries around your time and to take care of yourself.
Yeah, so we're going to talk right here not so much about reacting to an emergency situation, but what do you do to just sort of set yourself up to where those emergency situations are just not pushing you over the edge because the rest of what's happening is kind of more under control.
And I think we start thinking when like emergency stuff is happening, all of a sudden I lose like a gauge of like, well, what's an emergency and what's not an emergency? Because it's like just feels like everything is, but it's like, no, I don't have to answer my phone. So we're going to talk about this. You have to think about what is truly an emergency and what is truly just someone needs something from you, but they can wait their turn.
They could wait. I mean, using that question of what's the worst that could happen can be really handy here. So, I mean, what's the worst that can happen if you don't answer that phone call on Tuesday because you've set Tuesday as your day to put aside market things, take care of yourself, get your family set touch base with them again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not working today. So somebody calling on Tuesday, really what could they be calling about that's either not going to change? So even if you answer the phone, it's still going to be a problem on Wednesday. So why not wait till Wednesday to find out about it and deal with it? Or if it is, a terrible problem that you could resolve, maybe it's just not all on you.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody else they'll have to go down their list to the next person and get some help that way so that you protect yourself. I mean, it's the old use the oxygen on yourself first.
Yeah.
As you were saying, if you don't feel good, if you're completely stressed out, if you're exhausted, you haven't taken care of yourself, how can you take care of somebody else?
Yeah, exactly.
So setting boundaries is a good thing. We had one of our followers that's on the Facebook group say she has a very specific schedule. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, she goes to the gym. That's putting herself first. Monday afternoon, she answers emails and sends confirmation emails. Tuesdays, she doesn't do anything market related. Wednesdays, I check off the vendors who've responded and say, you need to respond now, or you don't get to be in the market, or you have a fine, or you have a late charge. Thursdays are open because things pop up. Fridays are prep days for the market. Sundays are no work at all. And then she works in other things at other times, but she says she's really hard and fast about how that schedule works. And she says it took a while to get her vendors and farmers to understand that that's how it worked. Like if you call her on Tuesday, you're not going to hear from her till the next day. Mm-hmm. But they did get used to it. And if you're consistent about that, consistent about your boundaries, people do get used to it and they figure out how to work around it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's the same on our end too. If we're emailing a vendor on Tuesday, but they're at a Tuesday market, they're not going to get back to us because they're doing their scheduled thing. So we are getting that response the next day. So it's just, you can also do that. It works both ways.
Yeah, works both ways for sure.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of people in our group saying, I turn off my phone on the days that I'm not going to answer and the days that I need to be doing other things, or I just need to be sitting still and taking care of myself. It's really only in the last 10 years maybe that we've been in a society where we're always available to everyone.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm old. Yeah. So I remember when there were physical answering machines. You had to go back home to get that message. So, if people couldn't get a hold of you right that second, somehow the world kept turning.
Yeah. So, it functioned.
And before that, there weren't even answering machines. So if you just didn't happen to be next to the phone when it rang, might be a week before you heard about this terrible problem, by which point it may have been solved.
Yeah. We didn't run into them at ye old corner market, right? Is that what happened back then, Kat?
That's right. When I was got my horse and buggy hooked up and maybe passed them on the road and heard about it.
Here you're pitching. But I think even in this day and age, I feel like it feels like because these things are because we're very accessible, we need to be very accessible. I am hoping that everyone learns this. And of course, I'm trying to learn, I'm trying to teach my kids this. That doesn't mean you're available all the time, because that is just going to burn you down to a shriveled stub. There's still only 24 hours in a day, as there always was, right? Back in the day? Okay.
Yeah, there was always that. We always had that. No, back in my day, we got by on 22 hours.
So we have a couple extra hours. So it's just a person is still a person. So even if you're running a business, even if you're running a weird job, we do a weird job, it's we're still human. And so you really need to take care of those boundaries and be organized and get back to people. But it's okay if you say, that can wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Just because that notification beeps, there is no law that says you have to respond to everyone right then.
I like that scheduling suggestion too by that gal in our group, because that's kind of helped me. I've kind of been okay, well, this market needs to get done, so I need to just do all the work until the work is done for this market. But Tristan, who works for us, she's one of our awesome market staffers. She is on kind of a part-time schedule, so she's only in the office on certain days doing certain things. And so it's okay, when she's here on Monday, invoicing needs to get done. So I know I need to do invoicing on Monday. So it helps me kind of stay on that schedule. So if you have staff that you're kind of buddied up with, it's do the same things on the same day, and that just puts it on your schedule for you, and then it's done. And then you can use the rest of your days to pop in other tasks that need to get done. But I kind of use that structure. Okay, then on Tuesday, I do emails and do, vendor applications and things like that. And then so you can kind of set that up. And then I try to have a day where it's, I don't say off except for Sundays, but I try to have a day, Fridays usually, where it's light. And I just kind of put out fires. Right. And so it's there's nothing scheduled that day. But sometimes it ends up where everything's all set to go. So you can kind of have a little boundary, do a little self-care.
That's right.
Yeah, I think it's important.
A lot of people are using just standard messages that go out on their phones, so that Stacy up in Northern California says, I now use my out of office Friday to Sunday message. And the message I use on my phone is, thank you for your message. Friday through Sunday is reserved for market operations. I'll respond to your email when I return to my desk on Monday. And it just automatically goes out to people. And there's just no choice. She doesn't have to make a choice about whether she's going to answer that call or not. It just doesn't come in during those hours.
Oh, I really like that idea, actually. I feel like with our vendor application, we should have a responder on there that says, we don't process vendor applications on the weekends.
Yeah, because isn't it funny how we'll get an application on Saturday and then somebody, we're at the market. We'll get an application on Saturday and then somebody will email you on Saturday night and say, I haven't gotten a response to my application yet. And then they call and leave a message on Sunday. It's like, dude, calm down. We're doing other things.
Yeah, but I think if you tell people, if you give people time expectations, they can work around that. And also your time is managed better because you don't have to reply and say, hey, we don't process applications. You've already said it in like an automated way. So I really like that idea.
Yeah, I do too. Mm-hmm. There's some actual specific tools that will help you later, or Social Pilot, so that you can schedule your social media stuff ahead and you don't have to be always on social media during the market and the day before the market.
Those are life-saving.
Amazing.
Those are just really great because you always think, oh, I'm going to be at the market. I'll take pictures at the market and post something. But then it's like, whoops, I have an inspector here. Like, oh, a staffer didn't show up. Like, just your priority shift. And social media usually like scoots down the line.
Yeah,
priority.
for sure.
So yeah, it's helpful.
A lot of people mentioned Google Voice number for the market. So you get a separate number that's not your number, because one person's basic tip was, I have never given my phone out to a farmer, vendor, or staff person, and I never will.
Oh, bless.
So I was like, wow, how'd you get away with that? That's awesome, which was pretty much the response of everybody who read her post.
Yeah.
But what a couple of other people said was use a Google Voice number for the market. So those apparently are really easy and I think free to get, a Google Voice number. And then it can forward to your regular phone. And it's even set up where when you respond, it responds from the Google Voice number, not from your number. Mm-hmm. So you haven't given your phone number to a bunch of people that are going to call you in the middle of the night. And you can put automatic responses on there that say, text me at this number, don't leave a voice message. And then the Google Voice thing, and then obviously I know my team's laughing here because I'm not the most technologically, I'm not bad for an old person, but I'm not the most technologically advanced person.
In the olden
days, I didn't have to know these things.
Yeah.
Right? But the Google Voice converts the phone into text, so they're saying that's a lot easier to deal with sometimes than trying to make out somebody's voice message when you're at the market or you're on the road or whatever, so the text is much more helpful.
I never listen to my voicemail. If you've left me a voicemail, I've never heard your voice because I just converts it into a text, good. And then I just go, oh, do I need to call this person back? So, yeah, it's helpful.
And then Shannon in Wyoming said she implemented a texting app for weekly vendors to request a space by Monday to be placed on the map on Tuesday in advance of the Wednesday market. So it's just a text app. They know that they've got to use that to get a response. And and she says what she had to do was finally just get real firm that if they don't do that, they don't get in.
Yeah.
And it's that simple. Mm-hmm. And she's set times when she just doesn't take any new vendor applications, and it just doesn't happen. That's just is what the boundary is. Yeah. And that way she gets to check out for certain periods of time.
Yeah, I love that advice too, because it might feel like, oh, the vendors are never going to want to do this. They're not going to catch on. Like maybe they're not very tech savvy. Like how can I train them? And you'd be surprised. I mean, give them some credit. And you'll be surprised, like they'll catch on, like they'll go in the system. And if they're asking you for something or for placement, they'll do the system that you've asked them to do. And it's just, you just can't take all these individual requests from everybody, not just farmers and vendors, but anybody that's in your market orbit. You can't just have them all working their own systems with you. You can set up your own systems. You can ask that of people.
Yeah. 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 And I think there's a whole set of conversations about how long does it take to kind of orient people or train people that this is the boundaries, this is how this works. And of course, there's going to be people early on, if you set up a new system, that are going to try and circumvent that, or going to say, oh, I didn't realize you were serious about that. I thought I could call last minute.
Yeah.
But if you are really consistent in how you maintain those boundaries, they will learn. Mm-hmm. It may take them 30 days. It may take them a whole season to learn. But by the time they come around next season, they're going to understand this is your system. If they want to play, they've got to play by these rules, and you protect yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
And then there's other tools that you can use, email filters, so that if things come in from certain email sources, newsletters, whatever it is, things that you don't necessarily need to read on an urgent basis, it automatically filters into an archived folder. Somebody said they use a location notifier on their phone that recognizes that when they're at home, whenever that location comes up, their home location, everything automatically goes to voicemail, doesn't even notify them.
Oh,
that's magic, right?
I love that. If I ever answered my phone, I would get that. But I don't need that because I don't answer it.
Well, there's that.
But yeah.
But there's
That's
a lot
great.
of tools like this. There's market management software. If you're invoicing via Square or QuickBooks, you can set up recurring invoices so that those just go out automatically each week. You don't have to do each one individually over and over and over. So explore the tools that you've got in your toolbox now. Look at maybe accumulating some more that'll make life easier for you and make routine tasks routine and not something that you have to start from scratch every single time.
I mean, markets, like many businesses, there's a lot of repetitive action. You're doing the same thing over and over every week to week, because we're a weekly business, or a twice weekly business, or 3 or 4 times a week. So getting those automations in place, I mean, I'm astounded how much time it frees up in my schedule, not to lay around and do nothing, but to work on other things that need to get done. So my to-do list isn't piling up when I set these automations in motion. Yeah. So helpful.
Absolutely. Set some hours. You know, we tend to go 24 hours a day. I certainly tend to go 24 hours a day. I'm the crazy person answering emails at 2 a.m., but carefully setting the scheduled response. That's a response to go out at a scheduled time, like it's 7 in the morning, so it doesn't look like I'm crazy. You don't have to do that. You can have kind of a real job sort of schedule and say, hey, I just don't do anything after 6. And if stuff keeps piling up, maybe you need to hire somebody to help you.
Yeah.
But just give yourself permission to not be available 24/7.
Yeah. Think about if you have the bandwidth or budget to bring on more help too. Or I think folks get, worried, oh, is a volunteer going to be helpful? Is it going to be too much work to train? I mean, try to figure out that balance. And would it be helpful to have a volunteer, at least there on market day, to kind of alleviate a little pressure on you so you aren't, feeling so anxious about your market day and how much work that takes out of you during the day? I mean, even just that can help you during the week. Like getting some helping hands, I think, is important to remember that it's okay if you ask for that help. You don't have to do everything yourself. So
exactly. And it could be a good return on investment. A lot of people say, oh, I can't afford staff, but how many things are you missing? So if it's taking you working a ridiculous amount of hours to just manage your market or to just manage your business, so you don't have any time left over for fundraising or to train a staff person or to train a volunteer, what are you missing on? Is it possible that you would make easily enough additional income by getting some help to pay that extra help and keep some for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, think about vendor retention. If you're all stressed out and you're not organized and you're not available to manage your farmers and vendors, in a way that makes sense for them, are they going to stay at your market? I mean, that's income lost. So you have to think about that. Kind of vendor retention should be a part of your budget. And if you need help to make that happen, then you need to pay for that help so that can stay in your pocket for sure.
Yeah. People can tell if you're exhausted and stressed. And it's no more fun to be around somebody that's completely burnt out than it is to be there on 108-degree days. You don't want to be that weather fireball.
No, don't be the fireball at your own market. Well, we haven't really solved climate change in this conversation.
We haven't solved climate change. It still might be 108 degrees, but, it's... there's ways to make things a little bit better day by day.
Yeah.
And that helps. That adds up.
Yeah. I think joining that Facebook group is helpful for folks because finding a community where you can rely on people that understand what you're going through is helpful. Obviously, this is a therapy session for us right now.
Right.
But, I mean, it's just finding that kind of community and talking about whether or not you need help with something and being able to ask for that help is important as well.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. Hope we gave you a little bit of help, whether you asked for it or not, and some folks did. Good job pointing out to us that there were a lot of folks in the same boat that needed some tips and tools and some encouragement. And sometimes what you need is just somebody to say, hey, I get it. I understand. I've been there too, or I am there too. You're all right. Here's a little pat on the shoulder. Go get a massage. See you next week. Thank you for listening today, and thanks to Social Pilot for giving us one user-friendly tool to manage the ongoing tasks of marketing your market business, and for supporting Tent Talk, the Farmers Market Podcast. To meet companies offering a variety of amazing ways to support your market, make your job easier, make your life a little bit more relaxed, register today to meet us in the Resource Lounge at Intense, the Farmers Market Conference, March 4th through 6th, 2024. Click the register button at farmersmarketpros.com and save now.
Thanks for listening to Tent Talk today. Please leave us a review on your podcast app or wherever you listen to Tent Talk. Let us and others know how you're enjoying the podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode of Tent Talk. Connect with fellow farmers market folks in our private Facebook group, the Farmers Market Pros community. Follow us on Instagram at Farmers Market Pros and find online education and other resources on our website at farmersmarketpros.com. Tent Talk is brought to you by Farmers Market Pros, where passion meets profit. Tent Talk is produced by Leandra Hayes with original music by David Mead. Tune in next week for another great episode.